Okay, so if you have the basics of Google Sheets down, we're going to spend some time going over the more advanced features, and we're going to start out with what I think is the best one, which is pivot tables. Okay, so if you're using Google Sheets and you have kind of a long list of data, a very easy way to extract information out of it is to use a pivot table. I already made one on this worksheet, and this is where we're going to end up. So you have the sales rep on the left, you have the ship mode up top, and then you have it by year. I've already filtered this year. We're going to do that at the end. And you can see how it's set up over here. So I'm going to delete this. So this list here I think is a good example of what makes good data for a pivot table. And what that means is that, one, it has headers, and the headers obviously pertain to the data that's underneath it. So the sales rep describes what's in this column. There are no breaks in this data. So if I scroll down, there's no blank lines. And it's so much data that you can't just look at it and get the information, right? Okay, so make sure that you've selected a cell within the table of data that you want. This spreadsheet that I have only has a table, so that's not hard to do. Then you go up to the menu, select Data and Pivot Table. And that gives you a blank slate that you're going to work with. It will suggest different pivot tables. I'm going to use some artificial intelligence to kind of figure out what we want. Unless you have very simple data and you just want to have it summarized by one dimension, these aren't going to guess what you want because there's so many different combinations. But if you do just try one of these and click on it, it's going to build a table for you, which can be really helpful if you have simple needs, right? But just to show you how it's constructed, I'm going to take that off. And what we had said, we decided what we wanted to do is we wanted to analyze it by sales rep first. And I imagine that going down the left-hand column. But this is where it's a little bit confusing, right? So you want it in this column, but you actually want each salesperson to be in a row. So that's why it says rows here. You want to add the sales rep for rows, even though it's going to be in a column. So you want each row, we're going to add, we want it to be a sales rep. And it's filled that portion out for me. So it's put them in alphabetical order. It assumed that we wanted to sort by sales rep. Right now we can't sort by anything else, so that's fine. And on the columns, you want the ship mode. And again, this is a little bit confusing, right? This is a row. This is going to be your row of headers. But it's going to be, each column is going to have the data in it, so it's called columns. And let's add the ship mode. And you'll notice on each of these, it's asking if you want to show the totals or not. Going to be a grand total for the sales rep and a grand total for the ship mode. Now in here, let's look at the count of sales. So I don't want to see the dollar amount. I want to see the number of sales. So for values is going to be what it shows you in the middle of your pivot table. It's the actual meat of the table. So you have your headers in here. Now you need to put something in the middle. Let's go to values and add. Our sales column is what had the dollar amounts in it. So let's add the sales. And it's summing them right now. I want to add each one of them as one. So one sale. So we're just going to do count. And we're most of the way there. So we have the sales rep and we have a count by each ship mode. And the last thing we wanted to do is we wanted to look at it by year. And I'm envisioning those being on the left-hand side here under each sales rep. So remember, this is called rows, even though it's a column. So let's go over to the rows. Let's add another column of rows, if you will. And we're going to make it the date. Now, this isn't what you want, right? We want it by year, but in order to do that, you had to add the dates. So it's a value in here. And now what you can do is right-click on any of the dates and create a pivot data group and select year. This is going to summarize it by year because Google Sheets recognizes that those are dates and it can extract the year and summarize by just that. And let's say you're just looking for 2018. So let's go back to the right, scroll down to the filters. We're going to add a filter for the date. And this will be a little bit tricky how we're going to do this. So let's do a drop down. It said showing all items. We're going to select clear. And then we're going to type in 2018. Now we're going to hit select all. So what we're doing here is we're saying unselect everything, show no dates. But then if you type in 2018, it'll show only the 2018 dates that are in the original table. Now, if you click select all, it's going to select all that it's showing for 2018 and click OK. And then you have this filtered by 2018. And one last thing, let's say Phil left the company, so you want to take him out. Just add another filter. Go to sales rep. Right now it says showing all items. So we're going to come here and uncheck poor Phil because Phil's no longer with the company. Click OK. And there you are. Really easy to understand pivot table with just the data that you need. And if you want to change anything, this is always live, right? Just go back here and customize it however you want. So that's all. Taking a good solid list of data that has columns with consistent data types in it, no blanks. And we've created this pivot table that gave you the exact information that you wanted to see. All right, so if you're using Google Sheets, and let's just say that we've created this spreadsheet and we're ready to share it with other people. Now, whether or not maybe we're done and we want to share with other people to see it, or maybe we just want some other people to be able to log into it and work alongside us. We'll go over those different permission levels to enable you to do that right now. And you start by going into the upper right-hand corner and left-clicking on the green rectangle that says Share. And if I do that, I get the sharing dialog that comes up. And you have two main options. You can share it with people in groups, or you can work with just getting a link. So for now, we're going to talk about what sharing it with people in groups means, and then later we'll go into getting a link. Let's just say that you created this spreadsheet and you know who you want to share it with. So it's a person named Michael, or you just type that in. And you get a drop down here showing your recent contacts and suggesting people who it thinks you might be talking about. I'm going to left click on the one that I do want to share it with. And for this particular person, and if I typed anyone else into this empty space and added them, you can select from 3 different levels of permissions. So these go from the least amount of permissions down to the most pervasive setting, which is editor. So if you just want them to be able to look at the spreadsheet and not change it, you would left click on viewer. If you wanted them to be able to use some commenting functions but not actually edit anything, make them a commenter, or you give them full privileges, which would be editor. So we'll just leave it at editor for now. And the second thing to keep in mind is this Michael, he's not going to know you shared this with him unless you notify him. Maybe he knows because you just talked to him, in which case you can just remove this check mark. But I'm going to put that check mark back in. I'm going to say, here's the spreadsheet we just talked about. Okay, and then I'm going to left click on send. This is going to send Michael an email, and it's also just going to show up in his Google Drive. So I'm going to take what I'm working on, I'm going to put it on the left-hand side of the screen. So this is the spreadsheet that we started with. And then I'm going to left click on this drive, and I have a different person logged in here. So if I left click on here, you can see this is the account of Michael. I'm going to take it, I'm going to move it onto the right-hand side. So on the left is the original spreadsheet, and my account on the right is Michael. So if we go down in Google Drive to shared with me, this spreadsheet is going to show up now. He also would have received an email. If I had Gmail open, you would see it. But this is the spreadsheet. So I'll double left click on it to open it up. And because I gave Michael editing privileges, what you could do, Michael could go in here. So we'll look at 30938. Change it to 411. It changes on the right-hand side and on the left-hand side. So you have full edit privileges with the way that we shared it right now. And we can see each other through these icons, and you can also chat with each other if you want to. So that's the most basic type of sharing, is just to share it with one other person. But let's look at some of the other types. So I'll left click on share again. And another option, see, it says share with people and groups. So you may have some groups, you may not, but I've set some up and I'll show you what that means. Let's maximize this window again. Let's get rid of the sharing dialog for now. Go to Google Drive, where we can go in the upper right-hand corner and see these other Google apps. There's one called Groups. Left click on that. And you can just see that I have two groups. So we're acting like this is a company. There's a marketing group and a production group. And these would have a predefined set of people in them. So if I go back to Google Sheets and I left click on share and I say marketing, it'll bring up that group as an option. I left click on it. And this, I have the same options here to control the different levels of permissions. And this is a way that I can share this file with an entire group of people. So it can be a department at a company, or it can be a group of friends, whatever you want. We'll go ahead and send that one too. It's a popular file. And that mostly covers sharing with people in groups. We have a few more things to talk about here. If you left click on editor here, you can give temporary access. And you get a dialog where you can expire the access in 30 days, or you can just change that. And that's what it defaulted to. And you can specify when it will expire. If you don't see the ability to add that expiration, that's probably because you're not using a G Suite account. So if you want to have extra options, you want to use Google Apps inside of a company, check out the description. I can get you codes for 20% off your first year for G Suite through an affiliate program. You send me a message and I'll send you those codes back. And let's just close that dialog for now and look at one more thing before we move on to sharing with a link. And that's this gear icon in the upper right-hand corner. And after you have everything set up, you can choose whether or not the people that you gave editor permissions to can change other people's permissions, and whether or not viewers and commenters can download, print, and copy. All right, let's just leave those the way they are. We'll go back. And that covers sharing with other people and groups. And so let's go down now to getting a link. This is the link that people can use to get your spreadsheet, and you can just left click on copy link to get a copy of it. But you can control how this link behaves. So right now it is selected to just be restricted, which means only the people that you just added can open it with this link. So if you go up to look at who you added, if you want to give that link to the marketing group, again, they'll say, hey, Adam, how do we find this? And they don't know how to use Google Drive very well. You want to give them the link. It will still stay protected because only people that added can open it with that link. All right, but you do have other options here. There's 3 other options. One of them is anyone at your company. And again, this is a G Suite option. It won't be here if you're using a personal account. But if you are using G Suite, you left click on this, and then anyone at your company can view. And you have options to limit how they view it. Third option, which you will have in a personal account, is just anyone with a link. So now this fundamentally changes how your spreadsheet behaves on the internet, because anyone that gets this link can view it. Now it is a long, pretty random link, so no one's going to be able to just guess that. But if someone gets a hold of it that you haven't specified can see the sheet, they'll be able to see the sheet. So just keep that in mind. And anyone with the link can be any one of these same 3 privilege categories. So you could put this on the internet and say anyone with the link can be an editor, but just be careful with how you share the link. That's all. So if we copy this link and we said anyone can use it, if we go up into Google Chrome and I open up a new window, but I opened up an incognito window, meaning the internet doesn't know who this is. This window is not logged into any Google account. If I put that link in here and I hit enter, it will still bring me to the spreadsheet. And instead of 1806, I can change this to 19 and it updates. So this is the Wild West. If you share this link with the wrong people, anyone can change it. Let's go back to my main account. And you'll know that someone else is in here because one, you shared it with Michael, and it knows who Michael is because he's logged into his Google account. So you see the M. But then you have someone here who just gets kind of a silly cartoon assigned to them. So the Anonymous Hippo, that's someone else that's in the spreadsheet, but Google doesn't know who they are. They're not logged in. So you can always see who's in the spreadsheet and using it up here in the upper right-hand corner. You can also see a few statistics. So you can see the viewers that you shared it with. You can see all the viewers.
And if you've been sharing this for a while, you can see the trend of the viewers. This is what I just did while I was making this video. So this is a history of who I added and how I did it. So that can be helpful if you find that the spreadsheet is shared with someone you didn't mean to and you're wondering how it happened, you can look through here. And you can also turn off these settings if you don't want someone seeing who you shared it with. So let's hit cancel, back out of there, close that. So that should cover all the basics for what you need to know to share your sheet. Okay, we're going to start with the average function, and we're going to want to get the average of the order amount. And since I took my mouse and I already selected the amounts that we want to average, I can cheat a little bit. I go in the lower right-hand corner and I select this, and it will tell me that the average is about $340. So we're going to know if we're right if we come up with that number. So if we type in the function, you can do it lowercase or uppercase, it doesn't matter. And once you type the beginning parentheses, this box of instructions comes up, and the highlight is on the section that I'm on right now. So since I put in the starting parentheses, there's a little gray line underneath, and it says that that's waiting for input. And the input that it's waiting for is what's highlighted here. So it wants the first value, and the value is going to be the range of F3, and then you do a colon to F8. And now you see that little gray line is not here anymore. So you can be done with the values. It doesn't need anything to complete the function. And it's already telling you in the blue font what the answer is going to be if you end it right now. So I'm going to put in a closing parentheses. I'm going to type enter. And there it is, $339. That's what we saw in the lower right-hand corner, so we know that's probably right. The next three functions that you're going to use all the time are sum functions. There's different types of sum functions, and we're going to use them all on the amount column. The first one is just a straight up regular sum function. It's already in here. I'll double click on it. It's just sum, and then it takes the range. So that is just going to add up all the orders no matter what, and it comes up to $2,037. But you can also sum them according to criteria that you set. So you can say sum these if, then you select the range with the criteria in it. So I'm not summing the sales rep range. I'm using this range to decide whether or not I want to sum this range. So this function goes one row at a time, and it looks to see if column C has the word Rex in it. And if so, it's going to add the corresponding value in column F for row 3. So it'll add 261.96. It'll skip these. It'll come down and pick up 48.86. And then you'll be done. So if I hit enter, that's how it comes up with 310.82. And the next one is called sum ifs. And that's just a compound sum if statement. So it's saying sum these if a couple things are happening. In this case, it's saying sum it if the sales rep is Rex, and Rex sold those items in Henderson. That happens to only be this first line because the other Rex was sold in Emsworth, Pennsylvania. So that should just sum up to 261.96. 3 different types of sum formulas, and they can get you completely different answers. Okay, we've gone through average and we've gone through sum. Another one that you'll probably use a lot is the count function. So we're going to use it on the extra column because it can act differently when there's text. And just with a straight count function, all it does is it counts the occurrences of numbers. If I look in the helper text here, it returns the count of the number of numeric values in a data set. There's only one here, 22. If you use count A, it will count all of the values in here. The only thing it won't count is blanks. Right now it's getting 4, which looks like what it should be getting. But you have to be careful with the count A, because if I go in cell K5 and I hit the space key, which is a way of putting some information in here, but you can't actually see it, you'll see the count goes from 4 to 5. Maybe that's still what you wanted, right? Because that is data in there. It's just a space and you can't see it. But be careful. If you're using count A and you're getting a value that you don't expect, you may have to go about this differently. And then count if can be used in any way you want. In this case, we're saying, look, count it if it has the letters VIP in it. That's your criteria. That happens up here twice. And so it's 2. Now, again, if I put a space before the VIP, it's not going to count. So it only found one of them if there's a space. Now, you can get into the trim function if you need to clean up your data, but that didn't make the top 10. The next functions are today and now, and these can be used to figure out the amount of time that's elapsed. They're very similar functions, but one of them has a little bit extra compared to the others. So if you do today, that takes just the value of the day today. And this works a little bit differently in that it takes nothing in the parentheses, but it still needs them because all functions need parentheses. So just close this one off. That's today. And then if you subtract the time at which this sale was made, you can tell it was done 258 days ago. The now function, like I said, works very similar to it, and it's going to return the day and the time. It's early in the morning right now. So if I want to find the exact amount of time that has elapsed from these orders, I can do now, and then I can subtract one of these dates. And so add them together one of the times and do the subtraction. So it was almost 258 days ago that sale was made. And you can tell the times come out just as fractions of a day in Google Sheets. So if one of these dates was noon, it'd be a half. And then the last function that you'll probably find yourself using a lot is concatenate. And concatenate joins values together. So we could go through this table and we can join these, make it look like an address. And how you would do that, you would just start out with the equal sign and then you type concatenate. Sheets is guessing what I'm going to type here. I'll select the second one, left click on it. It says, hey, give me the first thing to concatenate. So I'll give it Henderson. Then I'm going to want a comma and a space. So add those as the exact value. Just type it in as a string. Make sure you put quotes around it. That's what tells Sheets that you're typing in a string and not a number. Then you want the value of Arizona in I3. I'm grabbing those just by left clicking with my mouse. Another way to get them, hold on, let me put a space in here, is again, you see the little gray bar at the bottom that shows it's waiting for input. Take your arrow key and just start moving the cell selector around and go over to the postal code. And you see it's filled in J3 and the blue text is telling you what it's going to look like if you just hit enter now. And that's right. So just close it off with the parentheses, type enter, and that's concatenate. So if you want to do that for the line below it, just like any function, after you enter it, you have a blue rectangle. And in the lower right-hand corner of the blue rectangle, you have a little square. Hover over that till your mouse becomes a plus. Hold down your left mouse key and just drag it down. I'll go further so you'll see it stops working. But these are relative cell references. So the next one picked up this line. One after that picked up the third line. So that should do it. That covers the top 10 functions that you're going to use working with spreadsheets. And almost all the time, these are going to be all that you need to get done what you need to get done. If they're not what you need, you can find all the others. If you go up to Insert and select Function, this is some of the more common ones. We didn't even hit on max and min. You do more, this is going to list all the functions, so you can look them all up here to find what you want. Okay, if you're using Google Sheets, but you find yourself needing to do the same thing over and over, so for example, if you get a spreadsheet that looks like this, say you get it every day, and you need to take it, you need to format it to make it look nice, and then you need to prepare it for, let's say, your boss.
you may be able to record a macro, which is a series of steps that can be automated. We're going to walk through making this look nice, and then we're going to walk through making it work well. So let's say when you get this, we're going to go through the series of steps that you would typically do to make it look nice. But we're going to go to Tools, and we're going to go to Macros, and then we're going to do Record a Macro. And now you'll notice in the bottom, you're getting a flashing circle, and it's saying Recording Macro. Now it's going to tell you every step that's recording, so it hasn't started yet. It's not recording the movements of your mouse, but it's going to record it when you start changing things. And the second thing to keep in mind is that it's asking, hey, do I need to start exactly where you're starting? Or can this be done wherever you happen to be when you start the macro the next time? So for these, it actually could be either, because they're going to apply to the entire spreadsheet. So we're just going to leave it on absolute reference. And let's say the first thing that we do is we select the entire sheet, and we're going to go to text wrapping and turn it off, because we don't want the lines to be higher than one line each. So that already makes it look better. Second thing we're going to do, some of these now are too big for one cell and they're getting overlapped by the next column. So let's select everything again. I'm just doing that by left clicking on the rectangle in the very upper left-hand corner of the grid, and take the mouse and just double click on one of the column separators. Do it on the next one. Okay, there we go. That resizes every column that you have selected. And now let's make it look like a table. So go to Format, Alternating Colors. And let's pick the red because it looks nice. And we do have a header, but we don't have a footer. And that's all you want to do to make it look good. So let's click Save. And we're going to do Looks Good. And you can also assign a shortcut key. So if you hold down Control, Alt, Shift, and 1, that'll make it look good. So every time you get this spreadsheet in the next couple of days, right, all you have to do is Control, Alt, Shift, 1, make it look good. And now we're going to make it work well. So go back to Record Macros. And if you look, the one that you just recorded is here. If you record a bunch of them, they'll be below. And you can only do 10. If you need to delete some, go to Manage Macros. But for now, we're going to do Record Macro. And leave it on absolute reference again. We're going to insert a column. So watch down here. It'll record another step. So I'm going to right click on C, do insert one to the left. It recorded action 1, insert columns. I'm going to put in a header that says tick mark. We're going to center that, make the font white. And then the last thing that we're going to do is freeze the columns and the rows, and I'll show you what that will. Let's do freeze one row, and do freeze one column. And what that did was this entire header isn't going to move when we scroll down, and this column of data isn't going to move when we scroll to the right. So we're going to go down to the lower right hand corner now, and I'm going to scroll to the right, and you see column A isn't moving. If I scroll down, row 1 isn't moving. And we're going to call this Works Well, and macro number 2, and save it, and that's it. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to look at a spreadsheet where this hasn't been done. So I put another worksheet in the bottom here. We're going to be applying the macros. What we're doing is we're acting like you just got this spreadsheet. Nothing's been done, and we'll see how now you can do it in 2 steps instead of lots more clicks. And you could also use the shortcuts that we did, but those don't really show so well when you're doing a video. So we're going to go up to Tools. We're going to do Macro, and we're going to do Looks Good. Okay, it's all done. That probably took about 60 seconds. I edited that part out. This is a 10,000 line spreadsheet, so hopefully yours isn't that big. But now that it looks good, this time let's do the shortcut key. So I'm going to hold down Control, Alt, Shift, and then hit the 2. And it's running the script without even touching the mouse. Froze my columns, froze my rows. We are all good. So just a few other things to keep in mind. These macros stay with this worksheet. So if you're getting this as a new file every day and you want to run those macros, just go down to the bottom, add a new worksheet, put that data in a new worksheet, and then the macros are going to be in this file. You can run them on it. So hopefully that was helpful. If you like that video and you want to see others like it, please subscribe in the lower right-hand corner. Thanks.